Story is told about this elderly woman who started reading the Bible, the Torah, for the first time in her life, when she was an elderly woman. And she starts reading the story of Adam and Eve, and then she gets to the story of the flood in our parsha, and she gets afterwards to the story of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and finally she gets the story of Joseph. And she's so touched by the story of Joseph. She's so moved. She's crying. The brothers, how could they sell this poor guy? His mother died when he was 9 years old. Poor, poor guy. She was really touched and really moved, and she was crying. The following year, she started reading the Bible again from the beginning, and she started reading Adam and Eve, the flood, Abraham. She got to the story of Joseph, and she was laughing. And her friends asked her, I don't understand. Last year you were crying. This year you're laughing. Why? She said, this guy, Joseph, he's such a fool. Last year, he saw what the brothers did to him. He saw they sold him into slavery. Why did he go antagonize them again? Why did he go meet them again by Shem? And the truth is, we read the stories like the flood every single year. Every year we read Noah and the flood. Studying maths and geography and biology, you learn the syllabus once, you're a lawyer. You don't need to study it and restudy it and restudy it again and again and again every single year. So why do we study the Torah and the story of the flood every single year? I mean, I've been reading it for the last 35 years, studying it. Why do I have to read it every single year? And the answer is, I don't study it, I live with it. Not only do I study it, I'm supposed to live with the story every single year. It's supposed to penetrate and permeate me. So what does the flood mean for today's day and age in 2020? You see, the flood today is COVID-19. The flood is COVID-19. All our tzaras and our problems which we have in our lives, that is COVID-19, that is the flood. And I want to share a beautiful talk of the Rebbe, which you can see here on your screen, right over here. So on the screen in front of you, it says like this: Maim Rabim lo yuchlu lechabos esavo and horos lo yishtefua. It says like this: What is the flood in today's day and age? The flood is tirdot parnasa, worry about our livelihood. The flood is every single one of us has worries, has frustration. Since the time that Adam ate from the tree of knowledge, since the time that Adam sinned, we all have to struggle and toil to make a living. So that struggle and that toil is the floods that threaten to engulf us. So on a personal basis, that is the flood. But on a global basis, the flood is COVID-19. The sheer terror, the pain, the terrible COVID-19 that has been introduced into the world, that is the flood. So what do we do about it? Well, what did Noah do about the flood? He went into the ark. He went there and he was there for 40 days and 40 nights and he was saved. What is the ark? Ark in Hebrew is teva. Teva means the word of Torah. Let's see the words in front of us. Maim Rabim, great waters, lo yuchlu lechabos esava, cannot extinguish the great love that I have for God. Uneharos, and rivers, lo yishtefua, won't drown it. I love God. Every single one of us loves God deep inside of our souls. And we have deep faith that we will persevere, that we will overcome this pandemic, we will overcome our trials and tribulations. God would never give us problems that we cannot overcome. Is it hard? Is it tough? Of course. But he won't give us a challenge that we cannot pass. When it says in the book, Shemaim Rabim, what is Maim Rabim? What is the flood? And it's all the worries of livelihood, of making a living. The thoughts, these thoughts, sometimes we wake up in the middle of the night, how am I going to pay my bill? How am I going to get to the next $1,000 that I need? The im calls there, nevertheless, lo yuchlu lechabos esa'ava mesoteres. Every single one of us has a deep, hidden love. Sometimes this love is so deep that I need to clean it and polish it. Like a diamond which is found in the dirt, I need to really, really delve into it to clean it. But at the end of the day, that love exists. Uneharos, and rivers of tzaras. We all have tzaras. Lo yishtefua, will not drown it. Even when we have such an emotional, incredible amount of flood waters, these thoughts are so difficult for us. Until the anxiety, the fear, the frustration is just constant. And I'm like drowning. So what do I do? Where do I turn? This is the flood, and it will not flood my deep faith and my deep love. God. Like rivers which just flow and flow and flow. They cannot drown the love, and they cannot get it. And in the next paragraph, which I'm not going to read inside, the Rebbe explains that, when you make a livelihood, you're supposed to do everything you can to make money. But at the end of the day, you have to know that the blessing comes from God. The blessing is all Hashem. Yes, we have to do everything in our power to make a livelihood, but at the end of the day, it is all God doing it for us. I want to just conclude with this beautiful story. It says about the Mizritcha Magid. Magid mi Mizrich. The one time he told a story. He said that, it was one Saturday night in the synagogue of the Baal Shem Tov. And right after Shabbat, a woman rushes in and she says, "Rabbi, dear Rebbe, emergency, I need money. I'm so overwhelmed with anxiety. And I urgently, urgently, urgently need money." And she mentioned the sum, 1,000 rubles, whatever it was, to marry off her daughter. And she says, "Rebbe, if I don't get this money, I'm doomed." And when you need money, it's like, it's overwhelming. It's so hard. It's so painful because I need that money. And the Baal Shem Tov told his Hasidim who were gathered around for the Malava Malka, he told them, "I want you all to look into your pockets and give this woman whatever you have in your pockets." All the Hasidim went into their pockets. And it turns out that between them all, they had exactly 1,000 rubles, exactly the sum that this woman needed. So the woman was thrilled. So the Mizritcha Magid asked his students, "Tell me, what's the miracle here?" So one student said, "The miracle is that the students, obviously didn't have any money in their pockets on Motzei Shabbos on Saturday night because of Shabbat. The Baal Shem Tov was able to put money in their pockets. That's the miracle." So the Mizritcha Magid said, "There's plenty of miraculous stories about the Baal Shem Tov, and we don't need this to stand out." So another student said, "The miracle is that the Baal Shem Tov had the exact amount that the woman needed. That's the miracle." And the Mizritcha Magid said, "That's also a great miracle, but not what makes the story unique." So a third student said, "I think the miracle is the Baal Shem Tov could have just put his hand in his own pocket and taken out exactly 1,000 rubles, but because he loved his fellow Jews, his fellow Hasidim so much, his students so much, that he made them have the money and he didn't have to have it in his own pocket." So Mizritcha Magid said, "I think the miracle is, perhaps the miracle is that the students, knowing that it's Shabbat, they knew that it's Shabbat, they knew they don't have any money in their pockets whatsoever, but the miracle is that such great faith in the Baal Shem Tov, that when the Baal Shem Tov told them to put their hands in their pocket, even though they knew there's no money there, they followed his instructions with deep faith." That is the miracle. That is a chassid. As Jews, we have such deep conviction and faith in Hashem that despite the terrible, terrible flood raging around us, we are happy, we are content, because we know that God runs the world. We know, as we read last week's parsha, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'haaretz, God created heavens and earth. God created and is recreating every single moment of every single day. God is in charge. You know who elects the next president of the United States? God. Yes, we need to vote for our preferred candidate, and yes, we need to campaign and do everything in our power, but at the end of the day, God has already decided who is going to be president. It's all Hashem. We have to have deep faith. So whatever Hashem wants, that is exactly what is going to happen. May we all be able to persevere and not be overcome and overwhelmed by the flood that is going on in our lives. L'chaim v'livracha.